Now, the Halifax is saying that this morning houses are becoming a little bit more affordable. Well, Consumer Affairs journalist Felicity Hannah joins me. Well, who is it good for? If you're looking to buy, obviously, that's probably helpful, but there's so much pressure because of the interest rate rises. What does a little bit better mean, more affordable?
Yes, there's huge pressure. We've been very used for a very long time to very low interest rates, and now we're adjusting to much higher interest rates. So Halifax says that the average mortgage is now 6.7 times average earnings, and it used to be 7.3 times. So it's not massively more affordable, but it does suggest that it's maybe easing up a little bit as well. And some slightly more good news this morning, I think, is that Nationwide is reducing some of its fixed-rate mortgages by 0.4%. Sounds like a very small number. When you're dealing with something as big as a mortgage, it actually can mean pretty significant savings. Mortgage rates are still very high, but I think what this shows me is we're seeing a bit more competition coming back to the market, and that can only be good for people trying to buy or remortgage.
And so do you think that if you're looking now, maybe be positive, maybe in a few more months it'll get even better? I mean, is it a sign of better things to come?
I would like to think that it is, but of course we've got the Bank of England's next interest rate decision on the 21st of September. It's pretty likely they're going to push up interest rates again, I know, but it does show that shopping around, spending some time looking for the best mortgage can make a real difference.
I bet you loved the Edinburgh Fringe joke, didn't you, that made the top 10. All financial experts rolling around laughing.
We don't get many.
You don't get many financial jokes,
no.
but I'm going to read this. This made the Edinburgh Fringe top 10. Nationwide must have looked pretty silly when they opened their first branch. Good one, isn't it? I love that one.
I'm taking that. We're not a laugh-a-minute industry.
You're not a laugh-a-minute industry, and that's fair enough for you to say. Should we talk about car insurance as well? Do you want to talk about that?
So car insurance is another thing where people are suddenly dealing with much higher prices. So typical premiums have gone up 40%, 40% over the last 12 months. That's according to Compare the Market. Now, that's being pushed up by a lot of what we're all seeing: rising prices, rising labour costs, the rising cost of parts. There's a report out from Which this morning suggesting that something else is pushing it up, and that's, frankly, dishonesty. That's people exaggerating claims, exaggerating their injuries.
It's always happened, hasn't it? It's not new.
No, but they think that it might be contributing now to some of the rise that we've seen. So really frustrating for honest motorists.
So how do we keep them down, our costs?
Well, when it comes to, if you're involved in a bump, I think it's definitely worth taking photographs, getting statements from witnesses. But ultimately, you can't do much about people who are being dishonest. You can do quite a lot to bring down your own car insurance costs. So, for example, you can save hundreds of pounds if you just spend some time on it. My favourite example is if you tweak your job title on your insurance application when you're comparing prices. Now, don't lie. Never give untrue information on your insurance application because you can invalidate your cover. But, for example, if I put down broadcast journalist on my applications, then I get a higher premium offered than if I just put journalist. So naturally, I always just put journalist because it's still perfectly true and it brings down my premiums. Another good way to save is to add a more experienced driver to your insurance policy. Now, be really careful. Don't be tempted to say that they're the main driver because that's an insurance fraud. That's called fronting, and that can completely invalidate your insurance and leave you without cover. But if you can add a more experienced driver as somebody who's got permission to use your car, that can bring down the cost. You can also pay for your actual mileage. So I think a lot of us were quite used to saying, oh, I don't know, I do 12,000 miles a year. If you started working from home 1 or 2 days a week, like a lot of people have, then have a look at your mileage, look at your MOT. It'll give you your actual mileage. And if that's come down to 8 to 10,000,
that makes a difference, does it?
It makes a difference. Don't pay for miles that you're not
really
doing.
Interesting.
And then there's other options.
Because often we just renew and we don't even think.
Don't you? Oh, never renew. Never, ever
Oh, she's animated now. She didn't like the joke, but look at her now. Yes.
If you auto-renew, you are trapped. You're going to pay whatever it is that they offer you. Always compare. Never auto-renew.
Right, OK, Felicity. Childcare costs. Rishi Sunak's got a plan.
Rishi Sunak has a plan. Rishi Sunak has been visiting a nursery and painting a bee. I did notice that he got the wrong number of legs on the bee, but, you know, he's a busy man. He's been talking to parents about...
Chancellor. I'm worried about him not being able to count now. Go on, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking to parents about the government's plans to adjust early year funding. So at the moment, once your child turns 3, you can get up to 30 hours of term time funded childcare a week. Now, it's not a perfect system, but it's a big, big help for those parents. The government plans to roll this out over the next few years so that eventually it's available from babies of 9 months, so pretty much as soon as the caring parent ends their parental leave and goes back to work. But it's not coming fully until 2025. So we're not going to see those savings widely for a long, long time. The government's also trying to make it easier for people to become childminders, to mind children in their own home and to apply to become childminders to try and ease up some of those costs.
And there are other ways to save on childcare costs.
I am so passionate about something called tax-free childcare. Honestly, I tell strangers on the bus about this one. Tax-free childcare is massively underused, and it's a really, really good system. So if you earn less than £100,000 a year and you're not on universal credit, then if you're one of the many, many people sloshing around in the middle, you can get tax-free childcare. And I think the name puts people off. They think that they have to do a tax return, and you don't. You register online, takes up to 7 days, plenty of time to do it before the schools in England and Wales go back.
Yeah.
And for every £8 that you pay towards your childcare costs, the government tops it up by £2, and it's worth up to £2,000 a year per child. Now, I think a lot of people use it for nursery and childminders. A lot of parents of older kids won't realise you can use it for wraparound care. You can use it for breakfast club, holiday clubs. You can even use it for some drama clubs. It's really worth looking at.
Wow.
Significant savings.
That is a fantastic insight. Thank you
it
so
saves
much.
me so much money.
Well, that is absolutely brilliant. And from personal experience, I mean, that always counts. Thank you so much. Really nice to see you this morning. Great info.